What is up, Yu-Gi-Oh house? Welcome back. Today I'm bringing you guys a really spicy Sprite deck profile. It's got live twins, Trickstars, it has the frog engine. This deck is just level 2 good stuff. It's way too consistent and it's too good for its own good. Alright guys, let's jump right in. To start off, our normal summon package, 2 blue, live twin Leela. This is the better normal summon between her and Kill, and it's become pretty standard to run 2. Of course, we run 1 Kill and 1 Kill Frost. I think this is the optimal ratio. You don't want to clog up your hand with too many normal summons, and Frost, that draw effect on your opponent's turn, is just way too good to pass up on. To help out some of that consistency, I run 3 Sunny Snitch. A searcher, it searches for monsters that'll get your combos rolling. This card also helps you play in a time. It's kind of wild. Getting into that Sprite engine, it wouldn't be a Sprite deck without 3 blue. Being able to add something like a spell or trap negate and or a monster negate. I also run pixies, so it's a huge disruption piece. Sprite blue just feels so necessary at 3. Another Sprite card you really want to max out on is Sprite Jet. Being able to get into those spells like Sprite Starter or Smashers is just way too important, especially Smashers. Adding a whole layer of disruption on your opponent's turn, getting rid of floodgates. To round off our Sprite monsters, I'm running a single red, a single carrot, and a single pixies. I think they're all very good in their own right. Red being that monster negate, carrot being the spell and trap negate, and pixies helping run over essentially anything on the field. It really helps you out things like the Adagnister Link 6 or other monsters that would otherwise be hard to run over and or are unaffected and you need to battle with. Pixies become so important in those matchups. Sprite Starter is so important to have at 3. You really want to see this card. Even in multiples, you're able to set it and then activate it again on your opponent's turn, becoming a layer of disruption, bringing out things like red or carrot or even jet to search another spell for follow-up, or blue to search a monster for additional follow-up. Starter is one of those spell cards that you really can't afford to play 2 or 1. 3 is really where it feels right. Of course, we're running a single Sprite Smashers. Sprite Smashers has become so important because of Mystic Mine and of other floodgates like Skill Drain that really hurt the Sprite, the engine, as well as the Live Twin engine. It's kind of redundant to draw into, especially since it's so easily searchable, but nonetheless, Sprite Smashers really helps you push for game. For the Frog engine, of course, you really want to max out on Swap Frog. Seeing this card with another Swap Frog, or even Ronin Totem, you just know that's gonna be free real estate for a totally awesome. Not only that, this deck has a very funny interaction with Frost. Frost is a Aqua monster, so if for whatever reason the Ronin Totem is banished, let's say off something prevalent in this meta like DD Crow, then Frost can substitute as that other material that totally awesome needs. Of course, the Frog engine, you need to run Ronin Totem, it's mandatory. Duke Frog is the one that necessarily isn't. I opted not to run it. I'm already running the deck at 43, and I felt like I really wanted cards that I could genuinely capitalize on and wouldn't have to worry about normal summoning, especially since I've dedicated the normal summon to my Live Twin engine. And the last supplementary engine that I run in this deck is the Trickstar engine. Between Light Stage and Lilybell, Light Stage activating, adding Lilybell to hand, Lilybell triggering in hand, and then special summoning, it's just too free. Not only does it help you extend past 2 or 3 hand traps or 2 or 3 disruptions, it'll eat a lot of those hand traps, especially things like Ash or even Ghost Ogre when you're activating Light Stage's effect to shut down your opponent's back row. Of course, one of the benefits to playing Live Twin Sprite is the space you have for hand traps. There's so much space for hand traps, and why not run one of the most generic hand traps in the last couple of formats in Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Tear Limit has a lot at its disposal, and being able to deal with that with DD Chrome is so important. Not allowing those fusion summons, especially on your turn, to go through with cards like DD Chrome is so important. You want to be able to disrupt as many of those fusions or those danger monsters, potentially special summoning themselves out of the graveyard. There are things like the Gizmek monster, Fairy Tale Snow. You really want to be able to get rid of those problems with DD Chrome. When you play the Life Twin and Evil Twin engine, Effect Veiler fits so well with those draws on your opponent's turn. Seeing this card off things like Kisakill and or Kisakill Frost becomes an extra layer of interruption. Of course, one of the best hand traps of all time, Infinite Impermanence, is so good. It does hurt a bit drawing it on your opponent's turn, especially if you already have an established board. You're not able to capitalize as much on Infinite Impermanence, but when you lose that die roll, you're forced to go second. Seeing it as that 6th card feels so good. Being able to just deal with things like Winda or any sort of floodgate monster, go ahead and get rid of monsters like a Chixiao or on the floor, not having to worry about those on-field negates. Infinite Impermanence is easily one of the greatest hand traps of all time. For board breaking, I opted to go with Triple Tactics Talent. Allow me to explain why I don't main Dark Ruler no more. Dark Ruler no more is excellent going second. It's one of the strongest cards in the game right now, but it punishes you hard if you open it and decide to go first. Triple Tactics Talent, however, doesn't have that same burden. With as many hand traps as people are running in today's meta, Triple Tactics Talent almost always feels live. TEARLAMENTS is fusing on your turn, activating monster effects on your turn during your main phase. Triple Tactics Talent is so good in those matchups. To round off a 43 card deck, I run the Singular Called by the Grave. Easily one of the greatest spells of all time. Getting into that extra deck, we have the bad man himself, Gigantic Spright. This card is the bridge between your Sprite engine and all the other engines this deck is able to incorporate. Gigantic Spright is a little too necessary to run at just one. The grind game really needs that second one. I'm running, of course, the one Totally Awesome. This card is obviously going to get checked. If not this ban list, maybe the next one. I really don't see it getting banned on this ban list, but at some point, obviously this card needs to be addressed. Being able to put up 2 Omni Negates off very little effort feels so unfair, and it's why this deck is able to really compete at the highest level. I did opt to run the Zeus package. I know a lot of builds have decided to cut it, but I felt like it's such a powerful going second option, especially since Centauria has such an amazing effect of not being able to be destroyed by battle, and also bouncing a card, which is optional. If you decide not to use its effect during main phase 2, you can overlay for Downard and then overlay for Zeus. Putting up Zeus with 2 board wipes is just really powerful and could lead to way too much disruption for some decks to handle. I do run IP Masquerena. I think she's a great option, especially with some of the other links that I did opt to play in the deck. And of course, playing through hand traps, she's great to put up. I am running 2 Evil Twin Kisakill. I think the draw, especially in the later stages of the game, is so important that running 2 of this card feels so necessary. Your Evil Twin monsters definitely shine with the Sprite engine. I did opt to just go with 1 Evil Twin Leela. The destruction is obviously insanely powerful, but 1 is all you need. You're able to recycle it off of things like your Evil Twin Kisakill and your Sprite Elf, so even in the later stages of the game, Evil Twin Leela really isn't necessary at 2. Sprite Elf is another link to that is so generic. It has brought together a culmination of engines to fit into one deck. Elf and Gigantic Spright are really the bridge that puts together this deck, bringing things back like the Evil Twin links to get a pop and a draw during the later stages of the game. Not only that, this card revives back Totally Awesome to be able to reuse that soft once per turn Omni Negate. This is a great IP Masquerena target. I love running Nightmare Unicorn in the Evil Twin strategy because when you do start popping off with those Evil Twins, you have to keep in mind that you're locking yourself out of your extra deck if that monster is not a fiend. Nightmare Unicorn is of course a fiend monster, so you're still able to pop off if you haven't locked yourself into level ranker link tools. I opted to run Axis Code Talker because it's such a good board breaker and helps you get over some really high attack cards. It's easily one of the best link 4s ever printed. And rounding off the extra deck, Evil Twin Trouble Sunny. This card brings back your Evil Twin links from the grave to get their effects to go off on your opponent's turn, adding disruption. Not only that, it's a great OTK enabler. It is a pretty beefy monster. It comes out at 33k. This card, honestly, is what makes Evil Twins so good. Now getting into that side deck, I run the Rogue Killer himself, Droll and Lockbird. Go Spell for that Tier Lament matchup, and other decks that like to play out of the grave. D-Shifter, because going second this deck can afford playing it. Putting up a pretty beefy board, playing through Dimension Shifter is something this deck can do easily. And even if you don't open up the best hand, you can still put up Zeus with 2 board wipes. Unfortunately, you have to run Twin Twisters. Mystic Mine is running around like crazy. Back row decks are running around like crazy. Twin Twisters, Harpy's Feather Duster. Back row removal in general is mandatory this format. The last card in our side deck, I did opt to run Dark Ruler No More. Dark Ruler No More, especially in this deck, is a lot better than Droplet. That way you won't have to gas your hand to play through your opponent's board. Alright guys, that's full power live twin Sprite with a lot of freaking sazon. Guys, make sure you leave a comment down below. Tell me what kind of sauce are you guys playing in your Sprite deck? Are you guys opting to play the Live Twin engine? Did you go the adventure route? Are you playing the Trickstar engine? Are the nimble monsters more your speed? Please let us know down in the comments. Thank you for checking out the video, guys. This is Yu-Gi-Oh! House. Peace!